Hi, everybody. This is Marlene with Eerie News, and today is June 5th, 2022, Sunday, June 5th, 2022. So let's get off to the news and see what's going on. And let's start off. This is a something right out of our own Eerie News, and it's titled Skeletal Remains of Syphilis Victims Unearthed in the Foundation of 16th Century Spanish Hospital in Peru. Few could imagine that inside a house in Lima, Peru, located on a busy street, close to where there was once a massacre and doors away from a costume shop, a hospital that treated the insane and those suffering from syphilis had been erected 500 years before. On January 18th, 1535, coinciding with Epiphany, Conquistador Francisco Pizarro built a church in Lima. In 1538, the Hospital de Nuestra Señora de la Concepción was planned. However, it wasn't built until 1552 and renamed the Hospital Real de San Andrés, which was founded by Viceroy Andrés Hurtado de Vildoso, a military officer. The area chosen was next to the existing convent of Santo Domingo. Prior to this, Francisco de Molina cared for indigent patients at his home in what is now the Barrios Altos area of Lima, but now they had a place to go. In 1868, a yellow fever epidemic raged. It claimed 6,000 lives, making it evident the hospital was inadequate to meet the needs of the growing population. In 1875, the building was converted into an orphanage for girls. The convent continued there, and another hospital was built called Hospital Nacional 2 de Mayo. The original building is believed to be the oldest hospital in South America. 20 years ago, remains of a 19th century fountain, the cemetery, a garden, a colonial-era trash pit, and a vaulted structure were unearthed. Hector Walde, a leading archaeologist in Lima, explained that people who did not survive treatment were buried here. Skeletal remains were discovered under only 12 inches of earth. 2 years ago, archaeologists started to unearth a complex that covered almost 2 acres. It housed the mentally ill and a classroom for physicians dating back to the 16th century. According to historians, the mummies of Pacatcutec, Huayna Capac, and Tupac Yupanqui, and 2 others were sent from Cusco, which was the capital of the Incan Empire, to Lima. Viceroy Andrés Hurtado de Vildoso ordered they should be buried at the hospital. For the last 200 years, efforts have been made to find their remains, but without success. 50 of the skeletal remains in the forgotten hospital cemetery were Spanish men, many who had died from syphilis or bone deformities in their skulls. Archaeologists also found a copper cross hanging from the neck of one of them, probably used to ward off the uglier symptoms caused by the disease. According to the Columbian hypothesis, sailors in Columbus's fleet brought the previously unknown affliction back to Europe on their return from the New World in 1493. The connection between the disease and promiscuity was not lost on the Christian population of the 16th century, who believed the devil's hand was at work. This could also explain the design of the building as a crucifix. The patients who came to the hospital were given a bed in the passageway so they could hear Mass. Walde said ritual and religion were very strong. The orphanage transitioned into a public school where children ran and played above the forgotten graves. The school closed after the earthquake of 2007. Within the last 100 years, the land was used for a police station, various shops, and a Chinese restaurant. In 1991, 15 Peruvians were killed by a clandestine military group in another building. Archaeologists have also found a crypt and pre-Hispanic ceramics that predate the hospital. And I'm not surprised because a lot of times, even though this original hospital was built in the 16th century by the Spanish conquistadors, you find that even with churches and temples, for some reason, the locations are chosen because something else was there before. And apparently, I don't believe they've finished excavating these pre-Hispanic crypt that they found underneath everything. But chances are that originally there was something there, which is why that site was chosen. And what that shows is, considering everything, because even at that time, syphilis was already known to be transmitted between sexual contact, that despite everything, people were being treated. It wasn't like they were left on the corner to die, which shows that even back then, uh, people were being looked after. People were being looked after. So let's go on to the next article, which is out of Study Finds, and it's titled Star Wars Was Right. Aliens may be living on planets with two suns. That famous Star Wars scene of Luke Skywalker gazing out at two suns in a galaxy far, far away may be more accurate than many people think. Aliens could be springing to life and soaking up the sun and planetary systems with two stars, according to new research. Researchers from the University of Copenhagen say nearly half of the stars, which are the same size as our home sun, come in pairs, called binary systems. In these solar systems, the pair of stars are gravitationally bound together and orbit each other. Their combined energy extends the habitable region further out into space, increasing the odds there could be habitable planets nearby. The stars heat each other's worlds, also meaning they have a greater chance of sustaining planets with liquid water, a key component for life as we know it. The result is exciting since the search for extraterrestrial life will be equipped with several new extremely powerful instruments within the coming years. This enhances the significance of understanding how planets are formed around different types of stars. Such results may pinpoint places which would be especially interesting to probe for the existence of life, says project leader Professor Jess Christian Jorgensen from Copenhagen's Niels Bohr Institute in a university release. The discovery is based on observations made by the ALMA telescopes in Chile, which examined a young binary star system about 1,000 light years from Earth, named NGC 1333-IRAS2A. It's surrounded by a disk of gas and dust. The international team created computer simulations going backwards and forwards in time. The observations allow us to zoom in on the stars and study how dust and gas move toward the disk. The simulations will tell us which physics are at play and how the stars have evolved up to the snapshot we observe and their future evolution, explains postdoc and study second author Rajika L. Kuruwita. Notably, the movement of gas and dust does not follow a continuous pattern. For relatively short spells over thousands of years, it becomes very strong. The binary star becomes up to 100 times brighter before returning to its regular state. Presumably, the cyclic pattern can be explained by duality. The two stars encircle each other. At given intervals, their joint gravity will affect the surrounding disk in a way which causes huge amounts of material to fall towards the star. The falling material will trigger a significant heating. The heat will make the star much brighter than usual, adds Kuruwita. These bursts will tear the gas and dust disk apart. While the disk will build up again, the bursts may still influence the structure of the later planetary systems. The stellar system, described in the journal Nature, is still too young for planets to have formed. Comets are likely to play a key role in creating possibilities for life to evolve. Comets often have a high content of ice with presence of organic molecules. It can well be imagined that the organic molecules are preserved in comets during epochs where a planet is barren, and that later comet impacts will introduce the molecules to the planet's surface, Professor Jorgensen explained. The heating caused by the burst will trigger evaporation of dust grains and the ice surrounding them. This may alter the chemical composition of the material from which planets are formed, Jorgensen continues. The wavelengths covered by ALMA allow us to see quite a complex organic molecules, so molecules with 9 to 12 atoms and containing carbon. Such molecules can be building blocks for more complex molecules which are key to life as we know it. For example, amino acids which have been found in comets. ALMA has 66 telescopes operating in coordination. This allows for a much better resolution than a single telescope can obtain. The new James Webb Space Telescope, launched last Christmas, will soon join the search for extraterrestrial life. By the end of the decade, the ELT, or European Large Telescope, an extremely powerful SKA square kilometer array, will complement ALMA and James Webb. The ELT, with its 39-meter mirror, will be the biggest optical telescope in the world and will observe the atmospheric conditions of exoplanets outside the solar system. SKA will consist of thousands of telescopes in South Africa and in Australia working in coordination and will have longer wavelengths than ALMA. The SKA will allow for observing large organic molecules directly. The James Webb Space Telescope operates in the infrared, which is especially well suited for observing molecules in the ice. Finally, we continue to have Alma, which is especially well suited for observing molecules in gas form. Combining the different sources will provide a wealth of exciting results, Jorgensen concludes. This is super interesting, especially when you realize just how far these telescopes can see. But like everything else, one of the things that one has to remember, and that they mention quite a few times, is that they are looking at worlds or circumstances where life as we know it can exist. That doesn't mean that there's other forms of life that we have no idea. We're basing it on how we understand life is created, whether it's, that's why you always see the search for, is there water, is the liquid on the surface? And then, of course, they're looking at molecules and the introduction of comets and all that other stuff. But that still leaves out there a swath of life, not as we know it, but life as we don't know it. So, just food for thought. Okay, let's go on to the the third article. This is out of Psychology Today, and it's titled "The Wolfman's Lament: People Who Believe They Are Animals." During the Middle Ages, when witches and demons were considered ever-present threats, the transformation of humans into animals was considered a very real possibility. Thomas Aquinas, writing in the 13th century, opined that both angels and demons have the power to change the form of any person. During this era before the Enlightenment, sickness and especially mental illness was frequently attributed to past sins, witchcraft, pacts with the devil, or similar superstitions. During the Spanish Inquisition, a severe mental disorder might result in imprisonment, torture, and even death by auto da fe. Speaking of movies, our modern cinema archetype, the werewolf, owes its existence to these superstitions from medieval and even earlier periods. Many myths refer to humans transforming into animals. For example, in the book of Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar is transformed by the wrath of God into an ox, after which his body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle and his nails like the claws of a bird. The Roman poet Virgil wrote in 39 BC of a werewolf named Moeris. Off by their magical orbs, sorcery, I have seen Moeris turn wolf and hide within the woods, off called forth spirits from their deep dug graves. In 2013, Dutch psychiatrist John Dirk Blom published a study of a condition known as clinical zoanthropy or lycanthropy, from the Greek words for wolf and man. It is a delusional state in which one believes that he or she has become or is turning into an animal. Some of the earliest cases involved people who believed they were becoming wolves or dogs, and thus the term lycanthropy. But now the term is used interchangeably with clinical zoanthropy to indicate any kind of perceived animal transformation. Blom researched all the way back to 1850 and found 56 cases, of which 34 patients were male and 22 female. Schizophrenia was present in about 25% of the cases, clinical depression with psychotic features in 23%, and bipolar disorder in roughly 20%. In terms of DSM-5 classification, clinical zoanthropy would be diagnosed as a bizarre delusion, meaning one which could not possibly occur, as opposed to a non-bizarre delusion, such as a false but possible belief that one is being stalked. Cases have presented of patients believing they were dogs, leopards, crocodiles, sharks, frogs, snakes, and bees, to name a few. Here are some examples. Cases. In 2010, a 47-year-old French woman presented with a history of depression and disorganized behavior, i.e., opening and closing cabinets for no reason. She lived with her parents and held a secretarial job. She began experiencing auditory hallucinations of the devil telling her that she was a snake. As this delusion took hold, she was taken by her family to a priest for an exorcism. This proved unproductive, whereupon she was taken to a hospital. The patient attempted to bite medical personnel and moved by slithering on the floor. She refused hospitalization because this was for people, whereas she, to her way of thinking, was a serpent. She was ultimately treated for a major depressive disorder with psychotic features. Next case. A 20-year-old man was brought for medical attention by his family after several weeks of increasingly erratic behavior. He had no previous psychiatric history. At his initial evaluation, he was inattentive, suspicious, and reluctant to discuss his condition. He was hospitalized and given medication for psychosis. However, his condition worsened. He began howling, snarling, and leaping about on all fours. When questioned, he explained that he was a werewolf. Eventually, he revealed that he had been hearing voices for years and that the devil had told him he was a special person. Next case. A 32-year-old man in Jordan came to believe he was a cow, a subcategory of clinical zoanthropy known as boanthropy, as in bovine. He had a long history of profound psychiatric illness, including paranoid schizophrenia. He experienced auditory hallucinations and believed variously that the TV was spying on him, that he was Jesus, and that he had cockroaches and metal in his stomach. While in treatment, he bellowed and explained that the devil was controlling him. So, as you can see, everybody that wants to think only of the classic werewolf story, as in the wolf, no. I guess people go down that road because it's the scariest one, but I wish they would have given a case study on somebody that wants to believe they're a bee. All right, then we are off to studyfinds.org, and this is titled Ouija Mind. 1 in 4 people think a dead loved one is guiding them through life. Okay, do you believe in ghosts? Don't worry, you're not alone. A recent survey found 42% actually believe the dead can still contact us from the other side. Moreover, nearly 2 in 3 people, at 63%, claim they've seen signals or signs from a dead loved one. People say the most common signs which indicate that a spirit is nearby are sensing a presence in the room, 27%, household pets behaving strangely, 23%, and smelling a particular scent and not knowing the source, 22%. Interestingly, 1 in 4 people believe the spirit of a lost loved one is still playing a major role in their life. These respondents say a friendly ghost is guiding them, helping them to secure jobs, watching over them when they're sick, and keeping them safe when they travel. The survey, conducted by One Poll and commissioned by Sky to mark the launch of its new supernatural crime thriller, The Rising, also found that 62% of adults who believe in life after death say they've had contact with a spirit. Another 39% say they believe in paranormal activity because of the stories others have told them. Nearly half of the people who believe in ghosts, 46%, believe a dead loved one has returned from the other side to contact them again. In fact, 1 in 5 who have experienced a spiritual presence say their ghostly loved one actually made physical contact with them, doing things like brushing past them or touching them. Another 17% say their dead relative made their presence felt by causing the lights to flicker, while 1 in 10 heard ghosts talking or crying out in a quiet house. Just like the Hollywood blockbuster, 1 in 4 people who believe in life after death claim to have a sixth sense, which allowed them to see messages from ghostly figures. Even if they don't believe they can hear what a dead loved one is saying, 46% of all respondents say it's comforting to think that a lost loved one is still able to reach them after death. With that in mind, 52% say they regularly talk to their family members who are no longer with them. More than half the survey, 55%, believes that people we love never really leave our presence whether we still see them or not. These are the top 10 signs a spirit is present. 1. Sensing a presence in the room, 27%. 2. Household pets/dogs behaving strangely, 23%. 3. Smelling a perfume or particular scent and not knowing where it's from, 22%. Feeling someone touch you when no one is there, 21%. Seeing a symbol of a spirit, such as a bird, crow, butterflies, feathers, etc., 21%. Things falling by themselves, such as a book falling over on a shelf or framed picture falling off the wall, 20%. Feeling a shudder, 18%. Hearing a voice when alone, 17%. Getting goosebumps, 17%. Feeling drawn back to places that were important to someone who has passed, 16%. So there you go. See? And I know a lot of people. I think the danger in this lies not when people believe that, especially if it's a lost loved one, or especially if they're fresh in their grief, is when they become, what's the word I'm looking for? That this becomes the center of their existence. All right? It's not that you believe it, is how intensely you believe in it. All right, then we are off to Life Science. This is an article dated 2100-year-old burial woman lying on bronze mermaid bed unearthed in Greece. Okay. Archaeologists have unearthed the ancient burial of a woman lying on a bronze bed near the city of Kozani in northern Greece. It dates to the 1st century BC. Depictions of mermaids decorate the posts of the bed. The bed also displays an image of a bird holding a snake in its mouth, a symbol of the ancient Greek god Apollo. The woman's head was covered with gold laurel leaves that likely were part of a wreath. Already Condrogiani Mektoki, director of the Authority of Antiquities of Kozani, said the wooden portions of the bed have decomposed. Gold threads, possibly from embroidery, were found in the woman's hands. Condriani Metoki said additionally, 4 clay pots and a glass vessel were buried alongside the remains. No other people were buried with her. Archaeologists are now analyzing the skeleton to determine the woman's health, age, when she died, and possible cause of death. The artifacts found with her suggest that she likely came from a wealthy background and may have belonged to a royal family. We do not know much about the history of this area during the 1st century BC, said Metoki. Thousands of years ago, Kozani was near an important city called Mavropigi. The site is now a village that housed a sanctuary dedicated to Apollo. Historical records show that during the 1st century BC, Roman control and influence in Greece was on the rise. The Romans destroyed the city of Corinth in 146 BC and sacked Athens in 86 BC. In 48 BC, a crucial battle in northern Greece known as the Battle of Pharsalus saw the army of Julius Caesar defeat a force led by Pompey. The victory resulted in Caesar becoming the de facto ruler of Rome. It's unclear when exactly in the 1st century BC this woman lived or if she would have witnessed or heard of any of these historic events. The woman's remains are currently housed at the Archaeological Museum of Iani in Greece. Let me see. None were available, no more information. Considering, somebody, definitely she has to be somebody of importance. When you're surrounded with, you have gold embroidery, you're laid to rest on a bronze mermaid bed. No, you had to be somebody really important, for this to have been done for you at your burial. And again, you find that, in all these ancient civilizations, not only the Greek, Egyptians, even thousands of years before this, people really believed that in other words, that having a proper burial did a lot for you, as in that these were going to be part of you in the afterlife. That's why you see some of these ancient burials, even the Vikings and everywhere, where they would even sacrifice servants, horses, dogs, pets, everything, because supposedly these were going to basically serve you or be with you in the afterlife. And this is another article from Study Finds. And this I think is really neat. It's titled Hyundai's Walking Car Step Closer to Reality with Opening of $20 million Development Center. Okay. Science fiction is a step closer to reality. Hyundai's walking car designs will finally move forward with the opening of a $20 million development center. Hyundai's New Horizons studio say their mission is to build vehicles for future customers who want or need to travel over terrains which are challenging for conventional ground vehicles. The unit will focus on the development of ultimate mobility vehicles, UMVs, at a new research development and a lab center in Bozeman, Montana. The South Korean firm previously showcased designs for UMVs at the Consumer Electronics Show in 2019. The Elevate concept, seen at CES, will inspire a larger, size of a 2-person ATV vehicle with robotic legs that can address challenging driving situations and potentially save lives as a first responder in natural disasters. A second design is described as an uncrewed, transforming intelligent ground excursion robot designed to carry various types of payloads while traveling over treacherous terrain. The NHS Bozeman team will initially focus on refining the development, testing, and deployment of these 2 UMV models. NHS Bozeman is an estimated $20 million investment in Hyundai's Progress for Humanity vision, redefining transportation with accessible, sustainable, and smart mobility solutions. The only facility will serve as NHS headquarters and will support prototyping, field testing, and application development for UMVs, the company says in a statement. New Horizons Studio plans to add more than 50 full-time jobs at the location over the next 5 years. Many of the positions will be in the research and development space and will target expertise in mechanical hardware, electrical and electronics engineering, and materials and manufacturing. The estimated 12,000 to 15,000 square foot facility will be part of MSU's 42-acre innovation campus development, which is home to many technology and biotech businesses. As a part of this group, NHS Bozeman will have the opportunity to collaborate and work closely with the Montana State University's student population, as well as have access to state of the art research and world class professors. The industry building that will house NHS Bozeman's will break ground starting in June 2022, while the first R&D office officially opens in June 2022. Montana is quickly becoming a hub for high-tech companies and entrepreneurs with a growing talent pool of skilled labor in the field of engineering, research, and natural science, says Dr. John Su, head of New Horizons Studio and vice president Hyundai Motor Group. Bozeman is a thriving and economic micropolitan city, nestled near dozens of off-road trails with more than 150 miles of terrain and mountain access for UMV testing. It is the perfect fit for our new R&D lab. This is a great day for Montana. We move quickly to capitalize on Hyundai Motor Group's interest in our state, make this a reality, and bring more good-paying jobs to Montana. An innovative global company investing in manufacturing and innovation, Hyundai Motor Group's decision to bring its new facility to Montana and invest in our state is a testament to our business-friendly environment and Montanans' strong work ethic, says Montana Governor Greg Gianforte. We're thrilled our close personal relationships, outstanding business climate, talented workforce, and quality of life are attracting international attention. Montana is open for business to the world. I think that's super cool. When you look at these vehicles, these basically they're like off-terrain vehicles, like, and I can see where in mountainous areas or places where people just can't get to. Um, I think it's great. However, for you of those watching the video, you're going to see the first picture shows basically one of these, and it's called a New York taxi. And then basically, because the way it's built, it can just go up to, uh, let's say, it shows somebody coming out I guess the doors of a brownstone, but he's in a wheelchair. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not reality, because more than anything, if let's say most people that have mobility problems, whether it's because they're in a wheelchair or the walker or just anything, chances are you're not going to be living in a brownstone or a place that doesn't give you accessibility to come to and from. Okay? And the reason why I say this is I'm very leery of these new inventions, of these high-tech unmanned cars where all of a sudden you don't have mobility as far as a regular person. I think it's the great invention if we're talking rescue, hard to access places where there's been a natural disaster. But other types of ideas, again, this is not the first time I've voiced that. I'm very leery sometimes of new inventions that supposedly help us out. Because they all of a sudden the only things that will be riding around the streets will be these types of vehicles, and you're forced to either sell or give your own vehicle away. So anyway, guys, until the next time, I will be with you soon to go over some more strange and weird news. Till then, take care.